All right, guys, so today I just wanted to touch on a question asked over here in the Digital Ambition in a Circle by Maria. How to achieve this kind of alignment and layout where you can have your left-hand column and right-hand column different colors and have it span all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. I'm going to show two examples of doing this with Grid and having the exact alignment that you want, flexibility that you want. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's start with a blank Bricks Builder editor. Add a section. First thing I'm going to name this as my grid. I'm going to put two blocks underneath it. The reason I use blocks automatically have display set to flex, width set to 100%, so we don't need to worry about flex properties. On my grid, go basically to the content, set the display to grid, make sure we got a gap of 0, which is implied gap of 0, but just to be sure. And we're going to set our template columns. So I'm going to try 2 FR, 3 FR. That's kind of about right, isn't it? So compared to this here, that's kind of about the relationship we want. So FR is a fraction. So if we say we've got 2 FR and 3 FR, total of 5 fractions. So the first column is 2/5 and the second column is 3/5. Simple way of doing it, very simple math. And we've got 2 blocks. All we have to do now is style them up. First block, we're going to set the background color to, put some padding on it first. So 30 all the way around. Put some background color on it. Maybe a primary or red, that's pretty close to what they had. Second, actually, let's go back to content. What we want to do is align this content vertically in the center. So because it's a block, it's automatically flex. All we have to do is align the main axis there. Okay, it's going to do the same on the second block. So align to center. Style, we're going to adding 30 brown and color, maybe a shade, used a dark gray, dark, there we go. So we've got 2 boxes, which is our starting point of achieving this, right? Now this first box, we're going to stick in a heading, stick in some rich text, and maybe we'll stick in a button. Okay, it could be whatever content you want. On the right hand side box, we're going to icon box. So just something similar. Oops. Something similar to what was in the question. Icon box there. Set some coloring on that. Icon, set the color. Content. That white as well. Heading. Gray. Too low. Okay, we've got something there. I think with this other one, the icon's on the left. So let's check that. There we go. A row. And they're probably going to put some spacing in. Let's say spacing. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate the icon a few times. You're going to see, as this takes up space, this vertical alignment's automatically happening. Haven't got gap between these items. Already flex, so let's go to the first block. Just set our row gap. Maybe we'll just set it the same as the padding. So we'll just say 30 on that. Got a 30 row gap there. Keep it consistent by doing the same on the other one. And there's our basic starting point, which is kind of giving us what we wanted. We wanted this layout. We got a left-hand side and a right-hand side, different widths. All we're doing for that is using a grid and using the 2 fraction, 3 fraction columns, and that works perfectly. All right, so that is the easiest way and the first way you do it. Is not the recommended way that I would. The reason for that is this fraction, 3 fraction want to end up with very disjointed vertical alignment as you use these fractions. I'm going to show you another way of doing the same kind of thing, but instead of using 2 columns, we're actually going to use a 12-column grid. Not much more difficult than doing it. Duplicate the section. Now, duplicated section down here on the grid. Now I'm going to turn that into a 12 column. So I'm going to do repeat of 12 at 1 fraction. Oops, got repeat right, it would work. So now you can see in the UI we've got a 12 column grid here at 1 fraction each. Now we just need to tell these here how much of that to take up. We go to the first one, the block. Let's say we want that to go from grid column 1 to 6. Right. Second one, we want that to go from 6 to the end. We've got the same kind of thing up here. It's different, so you can see the alignment there. Got a different vertical alignment, but this is actually a better way to do it because that is aligned to a 12-column grid. So we can all the way down the page, we can use these grid columns like, 3-column here, 5-column, 6-column, they're all going to line up to the 12-column grid. So if I duplicated this again, let's say we wanted that different, where we wanted this narrower. So we go to the first block, right then, go to the first block, and maybe make that a little bit nice. We'll go 5 columns. Second block, we're going to start from 5. Okay, so now that's narrower, and if you can see the spacing between the vertical alignment between this one and that one, there's a perfect 1 fraction spacing. Even though they're not aligned with each other, there is a mathematical difference between them. So let's go and duplicate that again. In this case, we're going to go even skinnier. We're going to put that one from 1 to 4. This one, we're going to go from 4 to the end. See here, each of these, so the first one is there. Second row or second set here, steps left by 1/12 of that width. And then we've got the next one down, which again steps to the left by 1/12 of that width. Each of these has a 1/12 mathematical width, and it's a lot easier to align, control the alignment. So that is pretty much what I would do. And I'm going to quickly show you one other thing here. Look at this live. So that's our first example here. We've got a grid. Look at that. Layouts. Go the first one. A grid overlay there. A grid overlay for this one is we go from line 1 to line 2, and from line 2 to line 3. First one is, I'm not sure if you can see this on screen, but the first one shows it as being 2 FR, 2 fraction. That one's 3 fractions. All right, let's have a look at the next one down. One here. This one here, you can see we've got a 12-column grid. First one goes from 1 to 6. Second one goes from 6 to end. It's actually 13. So it's either, you can either use the keyword -1, end, or you can go to 13. So 12 here, when you're talking about the grid lines and you're deciding where it starts and ends, numbers, first line at the very right left-hand side is 1, but it's not actually the column. Left-hand line, number 2 is actually the start of the second column. Number 12 is actually the start of the 11th column. So you've got to go all the way through to 13 or to end if you want. Right, so we have a look at the next one. And same sort of thing, but we're going from 1 to 5, 5 end. Next one down, going from 1 to 4, 4 to the end. Right, so I think this is a better way of doing it. There's one more thing I'm going to show you. It's actually something I read this morning, which was actually inspired by some of the CSS I was seeing the guys use with frames. Why a article why they were using this min-max of 0, 1 fraction instead of just 1 fraction. I'm going to link to this article because it's a really important point. I'm going to actually change here, copy that, go back to my grid that I was working on here. I went to second grid here. Instead of doing repeat 12 1FR, what I would do is put in min-max 0 1FR. Okay, the reason we do that is what I found interesting this morning is when you write 1FR, the current specification is the browser will interpret that as min-max auto 1FR. So the minimum value is the auto, the maximum value is 1 fraction. Okay? Where that becomes a problem is how the browser calculates auto. So if you put an image, for example, in there that has an implied width, that is your minimum width. Right? So it is if one item of your grid, not a div, it's an image. That image has an implied width, so the minimum width that is going to be width of the image. You're going to break your vertical layout. So the better way to do this is to actually explicitly tell it that you want it to be a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 1 fraction. Not let the browser work out what it thinks the minimum should be based on what that element or that content is. So that was an interesting point. I was wondering why they did that, why they didn't just use 1FR. Then I found this article and read it and went, that makes that. So that's the way I would probably do it from now on, is make sure that we don't just be lazy and type 1FR, min-max 0, 1. Right, so that's pretty much it for this. So hopefully that is going to make sense to you and make this laying out of these columns a lot easier. Definitely going to be the way that I do it. So if you like this kind of thing, hit the subscribe. Thank you.